As I've just mentioned, for the moment I'm accepting the national insurance rate of 14%. I may, however, return later to the national insurance figures throughout the spreadsheet and amend them accordingly to the different rates of contributions according to salary levels. Let's now move on and think about other roles that I may want to add as part of the senior leadership team. I will also add a vice principal, whom I will pay at £70,000 a year. And again, pension rate 14.1%, national insurance 14%. Perfect. And I will also add a head of sixth form, whom I will pay £60,000 a year. And again, 14.1%, 14% for the national insurance rate. Now, although we will have post-16 students from September 2020, we want to appoint the head of sixth form from January 2020. As the spreadsheet does not allow for mid-year appointments, I will need to manipulate the full-time equivalent. So I will enter equals 8 over 12 into cell L23. Let's go to L23. Equals 8 over 12 to cell L23. And this will recognize that we will only be paying a salary for the 8 months from January to August in the 2019-2020 academic year. Then one full-time equivalent for subsequent years. And for both the vice principal and the head of sixth form, I will make relevant notes in the assumptions column, column Q. So this is quite important. It's particularly important for the head of sixth form, who will be appointed prior to sixth form opening. Excellent. Now, you can see that this tab is divided into different sections. We've got one for the senior leadership team. Then if you scroll down, there will be another section for teaching staff. And you can follow a very similar approach for teaching staff. And you can complete the details for some teachers. Now, unfortunately, the spreadsheet does not allow you to show a number of teachers on the same line. So, for example, I cannot show 3 full-time equivalent science teachers on one line, and I will have to enter them individually. I will do that now. So as you can see, I will ensure that my staffing growth matches the growth in pupil numbers, and I will also have to ensure that this matches the staffing growth that I have outlined in section D and my approach to costing staff salaries, which will be outlined in the narrative for section G. And again, for this element of the staffing tab, I've again used the assumptions column to refer the reader to section D and the narrative. And by looking at the full-time equivalent data, you can see that I've phased in all of my teachers. Now, if we go back to tab G3, I can see figures that are now there for teaching staff. So let's go to G3. And you can see the total figures for our teaching staff as well as the senior leadership team. Now going back to tab G4, you can see that there are a number of other sections that deal with other categories of staff. So pupil support, administrative, premises, catering, and other. You can follow a very similar process for the other categories of staff. In my case, I will have to remember to allow for part-time posts in the full-time equivalent column, as many of my support staff will be largely term-time only appointments and will not have a full-time equivalent of 1. When I finish this, I will see a total for all of my staff salaries on tab G3 at line 106, which is the total staff salary.